and enjoying good health. I am your English teacher, Ma'am Shumaila. I hope that you all are geared up for your English lecture. So let's start our today's topic. Let's see that what will we discuss today. So today our topic of discussion is present perfect continuous tense. This is the fourth tense of present tense. We have done present indefinite, present continuous and present perfect tense. Now in this lecture we will do present perfect continuous tense. We will discuss this tense in detail, its structure, its recognition, and how can you translate Urdu sentences into English of present perfect continuous tense. So we will discuss this tense in detail today. So let's proceed towards our topic. Let's discuss it in detail. So now move to the next slide. So students, we will discuss present perfect continuous tense in detail today. In today's lecture, we will get to know about the recognition of this tense. Then we will come to know that how to translate Urdu sentences into English, the structure of the sentence. All these things we will get to know in today's lecture. So you have to listen to this lecture carefully so that you would be able to do all these things after listening to this lecture carefully. So listen to it carefully so that at the end you can easily translate Urdu sentences into English. So let's see that what is present perfect continuous tense. Present perfect continuous tense is used to describe the action that is still continue with a time period. The time period can be specific or indefinite. So present perfect continuous tense is that tense which is still continue, but here the time period is given in present perfect continuous tense. But the time period can be definite, it can be specific or indefinite as well. So let's see that how can a time period be defined or described in present perfect continuous tense. So let's see the examples and its rules and discuss it through examples that how the time period can be given in present perfect continuous tense. Now students, look at these examples. They have been waiting for us since 5 o'clock. She has not been watching TV for 2 hours. Have you sharpening the knife for 1 hour? So from these examples, it is clear to you people that which form of verb do we use in present perfect continuous tense. As you can see in these examples, have been or has been, first form of verb plus ing is used here. So all three types of examples are written here: affirmative, negative and interrogative. All three examples are in front of you to make it clear. Present perfect continuous tense. From these examples you can get to know that what is present perfect continuous tense. Now students, look at the examples of affirmative sentences of present perfect continuous tense. The first one is, I have been watering the plants for 2 hours. Second, she has been writing a story since 3 o'clock. Third one, you have been flying kites for 3 hours. Now you have seen the examples of affirmative sentences. You can see that we have used first form of verb plus ing. And which helping verb have we used here? Have been or has been we have used as an helping verb. And you can see that we have used since and for as well to describe the time. Since we use for definite time period and for we use if the time period is not specific. So since and for is used in present perfect continuous tense to define the time, to describe the time. Now students, let's discuss the rules of affirmative sentences. First form of verb plus ing is used here. And helping verb we use have been or has been. We use since and for time period, as the time period is described in present perfect continuous tense. So we use since and for time period. Since we use for definite time period and for if the time period is not specific. For example, she has been writing a story for 3 hours. That the time period is not specific. That we do not know that which 3 hours she has been working. So we have used here for. But if we change it, she has been writing a story since 3 o'clock. Then we know that the time period is definite, confirm. So we have used since here. So since we use for specific time period, for example, since January, since 20 April, since 1990, since Monday, and for we use for indefinite time period, for 3 hours, for 4 years, for 5 months. So since and for is used for the time period. Since for definite time period and for if the time period is not specific. Now let's see the negative sentences. I have not been decorating the room for 5 hours. They have not been living in this house since 1990. She has not been taking part in competition since January. So as you have seen in these examples that we have used not, have not been or has not been to make the sentence into negative. And first form of verb plus ing is used here. Rest of the things will remain same. Have not been, has not been will come for negative sentences. Since and for is used here. And first form of verb plus ing is used in these examples. So, negative sentences are clear to you from these examples which are in front of you. So students, as we have seen in the examples, Past form of verb plus ing is used in present perfect continuous tense. Not is used, that we use not to make it negative. Has not been or have not been we use here. Then we use since or for time period. To describe the time we use since and for. As we have seen in the previous slides in the examples that we have used have not been and has not been, first form of verb plus ing, and since we have used for definite time period, and if the time period is not specific, we have used for here. So I hope that negative tense is clear to you. Now let's move towards the interrogative sentences. Let's see that how we can make interrogative sentences of present perfect continuous tense. Now students, look at the examples of interrogative sentences. See the examples of it. Have you been plucked this evening? Has he been drawing the picture for 4 hours? Have the firefighters been extinguishing the fire since 8 o'clock? Now you have seen in these examples that we have used helping verb in the very start of the sentence. Have you been? First we will write the helping verb, then subject will come, okay? Between have been or has been, we put subject. So have you been plucking, then verb will come, then object. So have you been plucking the flowers since evening? So helping verb will come in the start of the sentence before the subject. First form of verb plus ing is used here, and we have used since and for to define the time. Now let's discuss the rules of interrogative sentences of present perfect continuous tense. First form of verb plus ing is used here, and helping verb will come before the subject. Have you been or has you been? And since and for we use here to define the. So first form of verb plus ing, and which helping verb do we use here? Have been or has been. But to make it interrogative sentence, the helping verb will come in the start of the sentence before the subject. Have you been writing a story for many hours? Okay. So helping verb will come in the start of the sentence, and then the subject will come. And since and for is used here to describe the time period. If the time period is definite, we use since, and if it is not specific, then we use for. Now students, let's discuss the structure of present perfect continuous tense. For affirmative sentences, subject plus helping verb plus first form of verb, ing, object, then since or for, and then time will come. For example, she has been learning tables for 5 hours. For negative, subject plus helping verb plus not, first form of verb and ing, then object, then since and for, and then time will come. For example, she has not been learning tables for 5 hours. Now look at the formation or structure of interrogative sentences. Helping verb plus subject plus first form of verb ing, object, then since or for will come, and then time. For example, has she been writing the letter for 5 hours? So it is clear from these examples that how will you make a present perfect continuous tense. Now students, have a look on the recognition of present perfect continuous tense. If different types of sentences come in front of you, then how will you recognize that this is present perfect continuous tense? So what will come at the end of the sentences? रहा है, रही हैं, रहे हैं. And the time period is also given here. तुम 6 बजे से दोस्तों को खत लिख रहे हो. Look at the next example. मैं बुध से टीवी की मरम्मत नहीं कर रहा हूँ. Number 3. क्या चौकीदार 5 घंटे से पहरा दे रहा है? So all 3 examples are in front of you: affirmative, negative and interrogative. And what will come at the end of sentence? रहा है, रही है, रहे हैं. But don't get confused in the recognition of present perfect continuous tense and present continuous tense. For both the tenses, ending words are same. But in present perfect continuous tense, the time period is given here. This is the difference, that in continuous tense, time period is not given, but in present perfect continuous tense, time period is given. This is the major difference between both the tenses. So don't get confused between these two. You have to remember this thing, that recognition of ending letter is the same for continuous tense and perfect continuous. But in perfect continuous, we use time. As you can see in this example, तुम 6 बजे से दोस्तों को खत लिख रहे हो. The time is given here, so this is present perfect continuous tense. And if the example is तुम दोस्तों को खत लिख रहे हो, then it will be the example of present continuous tense. So this is the difference between these two. In present perfect continuous tense, the time is given. So you have to remember this difference and this recognition as well. Now students, it's the time to discuss the homework. Our lecture is finished of present perfect continuous tense. We have discussed this tense in detail today through examples. We have discussed the rules as well. That in present perfect continuous tense, we use first form of verb plus ing and helping verb have been and has been. If the subject is singular, he, she, it, we use has been. And if the subject is I, we, they, you or any plural, then we use have been. So have been or has been used here in present perfect continuous tense plus first form of verb and ing. To make it negative, we use have not been. For example, he has not been watering the plants since evening. So to make it negative, we use not in present perfect continuous tense. And for interrogative sentences, the helping verb will come in the start of the sentence before the subject. For example, has he been watering the plants in the garden since evening? So helping verb will come in the start of the sentence before the subject to make it an interrogative sentences. For its recognition, रहा है, रही है, रहे हैं comes at the end of Urdu sentences, and the time period is also given in Urdu sentences so that you can easily recognize them, that these are the examples of present perfect continuous tense. मैं शाम से कहानी लिख रहा हूँ. रहा है, रही है, रहे हैं with a time period is given in present perfect continuous tense in Urdu sentences for its recognition. So we have discussed all 3 types of tense: present perfect continuous tense, plus its recognition and structure as well. So this is your home task, that you have to practice any 10 sentences from the exercises given on page 84 to 87 of your grammar books or notebooks. You can select any 10 sentences from these exercises of affirmative, negative and interrogative, and you have to translate those Urdu sentences into English on the notebook. From these exercises, we will discuss few examples in our Zoom lesson as well. We will discuss from these grammar books, from these exercises. I will ask few examples from you guys, and we will discuss few examples of present perfect continuous tense from the grammar book in our Zoom lesson as well. So I hope that you have understood today's lecture. Everything is clear to you, and we will have a very fruitful discussion about present perfect continuous tense in our Zoom lesson. So students, do your tasks neatly. Now it's the time to wind up the lesson. Thank you. Stay blessed and Allah Hafiz.